So
Yeah, no, love hills. Hills are so I'm from Florida. Flat.
yeah,
Super flat. So
yeah,
we'd run up on bridges, or in the summertime we had a parking garage that we would run up. So yeah, hills are definitely I definitely don't take it for granted now living in South Carolina. Um, I want to get your opinion on track, like deep track seasons. Obviously, we're in summer training now, and I've seen all some of the videos that you post, and you guys are getting after it. But like this weekend, we got Adidas Outdoor
yeah,
Nationals. Um, there's another one going on too. I think like Nike, or there's like two or three that are going on or that have been
yeah,
on the
yeah.
past 2 weeks. How, as a coach, uh, would you like navigate that? Because it, it's almost like I when I think of year round sports, I used to think of like soccer, or like AAU basketball, but running in itself has really become year round, especially if you're doing indoor.
Yeah.
I mean, and track seasons go so deep. Do you, as a coach, kind of have like a cutoff of where you like to kind of keep your runners? Because obviously, state is in May, and to be running in June,
Right.
you're just, I mean, it's such a long season for any
Yeah.
break.
Yeah. Well, it's a case by case basis. I really try to, especially my more mature runners like Ella or Ava, we try to sit down and talk about what we want to do. What's our long term goals? Because really, when we started out on this mission, that's what we had to do. We had to say, hey, we're right here, right now, and this is where we want to be in 4 years. Your senior year. What are our big goals? What do we want to achieve? And so we look at it on a case by case basis. For Ella, scenarios change. Sometimes we want to, her interview, she said, she did Adidas last summer. Uh, I don't think she liked it, and I didn't like it either. That it was drawn out so far after the track season, and long term wise, I suppose we could have balanced it out to where she's peaking for a national race. But we also kind of were trying to be realist in the sense of, well, if we're focusing in on nationals, where are we actually competition wise? Are we good enough to really, really accomplish something? Or are we just dragging out, something where we should already be back into another phase of training? And so we try to look at all that. And so in that sense, and everything's about making money these days. People are trying to make money, and so you just with these kids, you got to say, hey, what do we really want to focus in on? What's our long term goals? And so like this year, when she was done with track, we were like, all right, this is the next plan. This is the next phase. We want to get back because when you really look at training, there's an element that you really have to put in a lot of base. If you really want to do some damage and you want to leapfrog people, you have to dedicate and sacrifice a significant time to base and really grinding and strength and conditioning. And if you really want to make a big move, that's what you have to do. You can't compete in the same tone. You can't. It's I'm never say it's impossible, but we got to have our priorities straight. We got to make sure that the training plan is just that. Like an example, Ella's junior year, we were in cross country, the summer going into her junior after her sophomore year in track. I was like, so we really need to not get all up in our head about how we're performing this and that. We're focused on the long term. We're here to train. I want you to focus. Even in track, we were like, every race is a training element. We're not even so much worried about competing. We're just sophomores, Ella. We just want to train. Every race that we're in, it's just a training experience. It's And so then we go into, the summer conditioning training. I'm like, hey, we're just training. We're not getting all up in our head on how we're going to place as a junior in the fall. We're not concerned about it. We're going to embrace all the opportunities given to us. And, so we opened up at Eye Opener in the fall. And, you can go back and look at my kids' time. Nobody ran fast. And so kids are like, oh my gosh, I'm not running fast. I'm not. I'm like, hey, we got to calm down because we've been putting in consistent mileage all summer long. So we're just not there. But these workouts are going to start kicking in and we're going to see some changes. And, the records speak for themselves. When we started cranking those workouts out, she did that 17:55 at Fort Jackson, and that was the grind, man. We were here and we weren't even expecting it. Like she was telling you, like she was thought, top 20s reasonable. Wow, top 10 maybe or something like that. So we didn't even go in with an expectation. We're just focused on training. Let's get the job done. Let's focus on the long term and let's see where it takes us. And it ended up in our favor both in cross and in track. So that's
And you talked about like opening up at eye opener. Um, I want to ask that about like creating a schedule and how you kind of go about it. I know in like I've seen like some colleges they will go out to like a kind of like a not an open meet, but just a low key meet to kind of get the legs going. Maybe just dominate some smaller teams, and then there's others that'll kind of open up with something kind of big. Eye opener is definitely it's definitely a big one. It's one of the bigger ones in the state. When you create a schedule, is kind of like what goes into that? Are you looking at going to because Coach Sands was telling me she wants competition every single week. Um,
yeah, yeah.
like what's your take on something like that and just creating a schedule?
Well, it depends on where your team's at. Some of these bigger meets, while you want your athletes to have that big experience, sometimes it could be demoralizing. Um, and it really, it depends on maturity. We're at a point in Clover now. We're actually looking because I'll have a big fleet of seniors this fall. We're looking at the more competitive meets. We're ready to hit it. We're not playing games. We're coming. We're going to be laying out our best, no doubt about it. We're bringing our best to the table this fall, and so we, when they were freshmen, we weren't so much worried about the bigger meets, but we always try to expose them to some of that stuff. But right now in our development phase, we want those heavy hitting meets. We want that experience. We want all that, as the kids say, we want all that smoke. Um, and so we'll, we try to be practical, and sometimes there's budget restraints or what we can do financially and stuff. But we got Eye Opener on the schedule. I think we're gonna try to work out the Adidas one as well. Um, um, but we don't. I don't know, man. We don't really concern ourselves too much with who we're facing because we just think so much about different elements of training and where we're at. We go through and dissect things with or when we're against a team or without a team. I map out. I know. We map out every course. If I can find a course, I I map out the elevation, changes and everything else, so I get a good sense. So we know, like, if a kid runs super fast at um, Pink House or whatever, we know that's a fast course. Is it necessarily reflective of what they're going to be running at the end of the year? No, not necessarily. And so that's where the whole ranking system is flawed in the state of South Carolina. Like you got people that are running crazy fast times at the beginning of the year, and those rankings end up carrying through the whole season. And I mean that I suppose there could be another database, but I guess I'm just using mile split for this example. But you know, that's not a true reflection because all the courses are different, and so sometimes I wish they had a committee that would vote on that. So we're getting kind of into the rankings. I kind of pivoted from talking about the schedule, but we get into that ranking system, and I wish that we kind of had a committee that would assess the courses and say, hey, well, this is uh, a level 5 course, and this child run, a 1930 on a really hard course. Anywhere else, that's probably an 18 flat, 5K and stuff. And so, you know, so we, to answer your question about our schedule, we try to look at all the courses, regardless if we race them or not. We try to get a good idea of what our competition is doing on whatever course, the grade of, whatever level of difficulty, how fast it is, flat, etc.
Yeah. And I want to do kind of a follow up question too, because this was something I was kind of looking up last night actually, and it was the number of meets in a year. Is that ever, uh, I guess, a question of the schedule? Because I looked at mine and it was like it was unreal. So we had conference, then you had districts, then you had regionals, then you had state. So there's four right there. The varsity is gonna run, let alone you add a whole season in there. And I think I got up to, because I ran Foot Locker South, it was like 12 in a year. And to me, I was like, that seems like a lot, a lot. Like I don't know how
Yeah,
I'd be running really solid times at the 11th race of the year. Um, do you kind of have a cutoff of where, like a sweet spot? Because obviously you want to focus on JV as well and their development, but knowing like they're not going to get the state qual or states, obviously.
yeah. Well, we tried to, you know, Coach Kelly was talking about this. You know, for us and our program, again, it's about where your program is at which phase. Is your team actually legit? Is it competitive? Are you just a pipe dream? Can your team really compete? And so, in that sense, we want to make sure that we are pinpointing weekend races for our main squad. Now the weekday races, they're free game for JV, unless we want to do something funny with a workout. We want to tackle, we want to make something interesting happen for a workout or something. But in most cases, we're looking like for this fall, we'll be looking just to hit hard with our varsity crews on the weekend, and then the weekday stuff will be for our JV and our younger crew. But it will be like some in the past. We weren't scared to. Well, we're never scared, but we weren't. We didn't ever hesitate to. Let them race on a Wednesday and a Saturday. We don't have anything to lose. Like, let's go ahead and have fun with it. Let's work. Because if we're being completely honest, every one of my athletes, they like to compete. They love to compete. And so if they can compete on a Wednesday versus doing a workout, they want to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
um, myself and Coach Clark, we're at a point now like, nah, we're not. We're going to be focusing on getting a grueling workout on Wednesday versus having a home meet or something like that. So, um, yeah,
And and the schedule kind of ties into this next one, but um, and maybe you've seen it. I think, I mean, I've seen it in just in just the past year alone, but just the growth of South Carolina running. I think I saw it very much this track season. Um, and I always compare states. Obviously, home for me is Florida, and I remember talking to my daughter, and I was looking at the Florida kind of rankings and times, and I was like, they had at one point like 12, maybe 12 girls sub 11, and I was like, oh man, look at South Carolina, like we're just it's starting off slow, and then lo and behold, South Carolina girls for that 32 just like opened up, and then
Yeah,
obviously on, on,
yeah,
on the on the boys side, like Caleb, he ran 149 in the 800, and like 404. You had a plenty of talent that was running. Have you seen a lot of that growth from a coach's standpoint? Like seeing that like these races are being, really a lot more competitive.
yeah. Well, that's the intimidating factor coming into Clover in York County. As you know, York County is no joke with the competition. So I couldn't even when I came into the program, I couldn't even remotely even begin to think about the state championships without having Fort Mill kicking in our teeth. Fort Mill is bad to the bone. I'm gonna give them props, and I like those kids. So that's props to you guys. Um, but when we're in the same county and we're running against these guys, it's a humbling feeling when you come in, your first year and you see like getting your door kicked in by these local teams. Like, man, we're in just in York County and we got some of the heaviest hitters in the state up here. And so I knew that we were up against a huge battle. And so, when people have to elevate the game, you either run with the big dogs or you, you know, uh, or stay on the porch. And so yeah, the competition definitely has kicked up. I mean, but you're seeing that all across the United States. There is quite a unique boom with, I mean, girls. My gosh, we got girls killing it in the United States right now. Um, and so uh, it makes me proud to see South Carolina represent. It makes me really proud to see how fast we had. Our boys team, our 4x8 team in track. We went 8-11 this year. That's nothing to sneeze at, man. That's pretty good. And overall in the state, like with all divisions, that would put us at like, if you factored in all the competitors in the state meets, that would put us at 18th. That's pretty stellar. But 10 of those teams were from 5A Division One. I think, well, most of them were something like that. But um, but that's our division, man. We were projected, like, I think we were originally projected as something like uh, uh, 15th or something like that, and we came in, and I can't recall. I think we placed 10th. What did we place? Anyway, my point is that they have all these kids in the state, and these coaches in the state are elevating the game. We have some outstanding coaches that know what they're doing, and that's probably because they were part of a successful program in their own right when they ran, or they were part of the tutelage of a wonderful coach. And so, yeah, man, we're bringing it, and it's fun to go up to Distance Carnival and represent and see the Kellys and the Nibers represent up there in the 30 in the Elite 32. That was a really cool experience for us.
Yeah, I just you mentioned just across the state or across the states. Um, I remember watching Lucas Verzbickus run sub 4 when I was in high school, and now it's like, dude, there's boys doing it like every year. You get one, two, or even three
Yeah,
guys breaking 4 in the mile. And it was such a it just used to be so like insane. You would see this, and now it's almost become a norm. And then yeah, obviously on the girls' side, just it exploding. Girls running 9-minute 2 miles now, and it's just it's awesome. It's awesome to see. American distance in itself is just even at the collegiate level and professional level has just taken a storm. Like Grant Fisher running like
yeah,
12:44 or 46, one of those. Like
yeah, man.
it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's so cool to see because you look at like Galen Rupp, in 2012. the Olympics, and you always are like, oh my, like that's my hero. That's he did that, and that's an American.
Yeah.
And then now you just there's so many more Americans that are breaking 27 in the 10, or yeah, and it's just cool. It's really cool to see just the growth, not only in South Carolina, but just yeah, like you said, overall. Um, a couple more things I just kind of want to go over. Um, Obviously, we talked about rankings a little bit there. Um, and there's trust me when I say there's actually some thought of doing something with rankings in the future, in the near future, and trying to kind of talk to some people about that because I see the growth in that too. I don't. You cannot look at rankings as just a general database, especially on MileSplit, um, and say those are accurate by any means because there are so many different
Right.
courses. That's why I always dissect more in that, and because somebody can be like, yeah, I'm coming in, you know, number one in this, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe, but then you've averaged like 50 seconds like slower consistently, and that was a fast course, or maybe even considered a short course. um do you guys pay close attention to rankings? Like, is that something you talk about to the team, or you just, if the girls or the guys see it, like maybe mention it at all? But like for you, do you mention it at all?
Now we play around with it in the sense of like, well, wow, this is happening. Look at this. Look at this. But we've truly never. Ella told you this. She says she doesn't worry about it, and that I do all the analysis and stuff. And so, but we try not to worry about it. We don't let it bother us. We are who we are. We got a plan. We stick to our plan. We don't get shaken up about anything. We don't. We know what we have to do, and we stick to it. It's nice to have a little insight if there was true validity, if it was a good, honest insight. But we try not to really think about the rankings too much because you know, I don't think anyone considers Clover as being anybody special right now, and so we're just laying back here in the cut and hoping to maybe get our piece of pie, and but I mean, the rankings. We certainly know who the heavy hitters are with the rankings because they kind of stay somehow or another. They go to the right courses and stuff, and they stay in the mix with their time. So, um, but we don't sweat the rankings too much.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I mentioned this to Coach Sands. Like there's a team out there, and they lost two of their guys, two of their top five, and then like four of their seven didn't even run track, and it's like, if only you knew, but you can't tell that just from the rankings, and they're coming back. And it's like, well, no, then again, if you watch them interview, you're just like, well, no, one of their guys quit, and like there's just so much more. I actually talked to a guy yesterday. Um, there's a runner from Japan coming in as a stud, and it's like nobody would ever know that. And obviously rankings can't tell you that, and but we'll see in the fall. So uh, I always kind of look at rankings as it just doesn't tell everything unless you really
Right.
dig down deep. um, but it's always curious how they all kind of play out. One of the kind of last things I really want to kind of get in the weeds with, you kind of talked about like expectations and whatnot, and not kind of really like not really focusing too much down the road, as far as like growth and whatnot, but focused kind of in the moment. With your current team right now, I see it from kind of a small lens, but I see it. I guess really what I'm asking is like, what are the current kind of expectations for this year, and the current outlook? Like, you have a solid team on both the girls and the guys side, and I think again I go back to rankings, like Ava, like nobody knows. If only they knew. Like, if you really look, like 507, like she's gonna be a force on the course this year. But her PR is like
Yes, she will.
19 something. So it's like, if only you knew. If only you knew. So yeah, looking at the kind of the team right now and seeing how everyone's going, and going from a track season now into a new cross country season, what are some of those expectations? Obviously, states, I'm assuming, place high there, win it. Is that kind of the team goal right now, or we're too early to tell?
Um, well, we have a policy at Clover that we are always ambitious, and we don't entertain negative thoughts. We're optimists, and we're striving for excellence, and so we don't. We would like to say that we hope to be in the mix. We'll certainly be. We're we're hoping to achieve historical best in the school since Clover started entering into the state meet. 1988, they debuted with the team, and as of right now, our girls are the best in Clover history, and then our boys are pretty close to being the best in Clover history. And so, running is a battle against yourself. And if we can go out there and battle our best against ourselves and lay it all out there, I think we're going to turn some heads. If we can put it together the way that we've worked for 4 years, it should be really, really interesting. Um, uh, it's it's difficult to it's difficult to project because we just try to follow the plan that I write up. We try to really grind and see where our cards fall, man. We would like to be somewhere in the mix in the top five for girls, and I I think we want to be in the top five for our boys too. Um, but we'll have to see how that. We don't have. We're not. There's no pressure on the kids. I love them and I'm proud of them, regardless win or lose or whatever we do. Man, it's all good. We're in an interesting time in Clover history because after this year, they're opening in a new school here in Clover. It's Lake Wiley. We have a big community, and so the the school district has grown so much, and so our high school program will be divided. And our current roster right now consists of about 75% of Lake Wiley kids. And so, we're projecting to have somewhere between 70 to 80 kids on our roster this fall. That's like 120% jump from where we started, like increase. But 75% of those kids are zoned in this Lake Wiley period or Lake Wiley school district potentially. They haven't drawn up the lines yet, and so we think about that heavily. We think about how this is the history of this program will forever be changed if the school opens as intended in the fall of 2026. And so we're not only looking at this general aspect, but we're looking at a historical change in our community. And we want to leave a measurable mark after this, because some of my kids, they will likely go to the new high school. I got a seventh grader that qualified in state in the 1600, Eva Quintana. She'll be eighth grade this fall, but the next year she could very well be zoned for the new high school, and so that's going to change Clover High School. And so, myself and Coach Clark is an alum from Clover. He went to Anderson and ran for Anderson. He's a phenomenal young man. He came in the program a year after I did, and him and I see eye to eye with our training philosophies and stuff. But we're concerned, how what's going to happen to our coaching staff. And yesterday we actually had a talk about it, and if one of us was to go to the other school uh, and and we're split essentially, um, how that will change the team dynamics. And we concluded that they can have whatever rivalries form, between the football and basketball teams. But if him and I are still part of these programs, we've decided that we're going to do our best to keep our community, our running community at least, united. And so while we won't be able to compete on the same team, there might be a situation. We have a local running club that I'm a chairman of, Runners of Clover, and our local run club could combine those groups, and we could still have an elite competition team. And we're looking just to continue to elevate the game in Clover, regardless of how the schools shake out. But to answer your question, uh, we want to be in the mix. We hope we're in the mix. We want to be competitive. We want to be able to. Coach Sands wants the competition, and we hope that we're in the conversation. We had a discussion. Her and I had a discussion, and I kind of pleaded with her to come to the Clover Classic, and she said, "Well, Coach, we're really looking at some of these heavy hitting meets, and we want to go where the big competition is." And I only hope that Clover can be in that mix. I hope that by the end of the season, we are part of that competition conversation, whether that's just our girls or our boys. And I like to believe our boys they're all more mature, and I like to believe that our boys are going to have something to say too. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't have said it better. It, there's always expectations and there's always kind of goals. But like I said, you never know. You never know what's gonna happen. I think your team's really interesting. I think there's so many just kind of dark horses on it that people just don't know. And then I think this fall they're gonna know. They're gonna know. And it's really cool to watch. And
I
um
got several of them are in a gym right now working out. They want a piece of that pie, and bless their hearts, I love them. I mean, these kids, I just can't say enough about them. All my boys, man, my boys are my ride or die. The dynamic between working with girls and the boys is always different. Your boys, you know, you're in clutch with them, and the girls' dynamic is unique, so you have to balance it all. But my boys are ready to roll. They want to, and the girls, and man, it's fascinating to watch the growth of our program. When you track the times and stuff, and like you say, there might be some dark horses, there might be some surprises. We'll see how that shakes out.
yeah, coach, I'm excited. I'm sure the rest of the state's gonna be I don't know, maybe surprised, maybe not. Because obviously, again, you guys have really done such a work, especially in this track season. That definitely have Clover's on the map, I think. And if they don't know, then they're like I said, they're gonna know. So, Coach, I appreciate it coming on again, just being an active supporter of the channel. I continue to do the best job I can to provide content for everybody. And there's so much more in the pipeline that there's just hasn't been kind of broadcasted out yet. But there's a ton more that I'm trying to work on. And um, again, I appreciate you coming on and obviously again reaching out to your runners and having them come on has been awesome as well. And hopefully get some of the guys to come on too. I would love to pick their brains of whatnot and everything going on at Clover. And yeah, coach, just very appreciative. Thank you for the kind words, and definitely would love to have you on again as we get towards the season or even in the season. So I appreciate it, coach.
Hey, you're the one making it happen, man. You are the one making it happen. You are the mouth of. I'm going to say it right now. You're the mouth of South Carolina running, man. You're doing the work. You're doing laying down the groundwork. And as far as I'm concerned, you're our number one guy. You're our number one advocate. You're out here on the mic. You're scheduling these interviews, and I can't brag about you enough, man. It's phenomenal what you're doing, and I'm so grateful. I am truly grateful. Keep grinding. Whatever I can do, if there's anything I can help facilitate, organize on your behalf, if you want to send any merchandise or any signs or anything that I can put up at the invitational, if you can't make it up here, you just let me know and I got you covered. Even if we need to do a satellite if you can't be up at the invitational, I can get some people to record some interviews for you, and we'll get them sent over to your channel. That way, we make sure that you're getting all the limelight you deserve for putting in all this hard work, because you're covering it. I mean, you got Coach Kelly, you got Coach Sands, you got Kelly, you got Ava Lindsay. I mean, you're handling business, man, and it's I know how hard it is to balance all that stuff out and schedule it. I mean, we've been chatting for a good minute here, and for you to make that sacrifice and not be paid for it, it's just says a tremendous amount about your love and commitment to our sport, and I just can't stop singing your praises, man. So thank you, Corey.
I
Appreciate you,
pre-
man.
I appreciate it, Coach.